Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to week 2 of Ryerson's virtual open house. My name is Jessica and I'm pleased to be your host for today's Get to Know Politics and Governance. Ryerson has shifted to an essential services model to help prevent the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic, which is why we are on your screens and not with you in person. We have put together a series of virtual sessions in order to share information and connect with you on a virtual level from the comfort of your own home or wherever you may be joining from today. Ryerson is working diligently to provide students with fulsome experiences while maintaining the health and safety of our community. So there are many sessions that have been taking place across these 2 weeks, and we do encourage you to visit our website and register for any other remaining sessions that may be of interest to you. Now, before we get started, I do have a few Zoom housekeeping tips. We encourage you to ask questions. We have many faculty and staff members here to answer your questions throughout the session, and we'll also leave some time at the end to answer some live questions as well. To ask a question, simply move your mouse over the bottom of your Zoom window where you'll find a Q&A option. This is where you can click on a window that'll pop up and you can type in your questions there. If you're having any audio or video issues, feel free to also flag that in the Q&A pod, and we will do our best to troubleshoot those with you as well. You can also rearrange your screen in any way that works best for you, so you can make things bigger or smaller. Anything that you do to your screen will not affect the way that everyone else is seeing it. This presentation is also closed captioned to ensure accessibility. So if you do require closed captioning, please select that option at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Also note that this session is being recorded and will be available on our virtual open house website at a later date. So stay tuned for that if you ever wanted to check it out again, rewatch some things, or go over something you may have missed. This is also a great opportunity for you to check out some of the other sessions that we had also hosted throughout these 2 weeks. Keep in mind that the Q&A will not be part of the recording. So if you happen to get a really great answer from us, or maybe a link to a website, feel free to take a screenshot, a picture, or save it somewhere on your computer for future reference. Now, even though we are not on Ryerson's campus, we would still like to take a moment to acknowledge the land in which our university exists. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. Now, as much as this session is about all things Ryerson and getting to know us, we'd also like to get to know some of you who are joining us today. So I'm going to be launching a poll right now, and I encourage you to let us know if you're a prospective student, university or college transfer, parent, guardian, or teacher and counselor. Now, as I leave this poll up on the screen for you to vote, I would now like to introduce our speakers. So joining us today, we have Dr. Grace Edward, who is an associate professor and undergraduate program director of our Politics and Governance program. We also have a 4th-year student here whose name is Joselle, who is the president of our Ryerson Liberal Arts Society. And we also have Hannah, who is a 3rd-year student and director for Politics and Governance for the Ryerson Liberal Arts Society as well, also known as RLAS. And they will be joining us throughout the session today and talking a little bit about their experiences as well. So I'd like to turn things over now to Professor Grace Edwards to take it over from here.
Thank you, Jessica. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us this afternoon, and we look forward to maybe spending time with us in the years to come. You will notice, the first thing you notice about the program at Ryerson University is that it is not a politics program, but a politics and governance program. And that is because we're interested both in what happens in government, but beyond government as well. We're interested in understanding how power and authority are exercised in the world, in the country, in the province, and in the cities. We're interested in understanding the rules that govern our lives, who writes those rules, and what they might do in terms of improving our social conditions. We're interested in the role of transnational corporations, for instance, social movements, for instance. We're interested in the role of student movements, for instance. So you will see on the screen that the images of events that in some ways define what politics and governance happen to be like in the world. On the top on the left side, you see the Parliament of Rwanda, where over 50% of the members of that parliament are women. The question is, how did they get there? The Canadian Parliament has about 26% women. But we are also interested in understanding the question around the competition for power. We have seen that in the United States recently, and we see it in the Canadian government, as in the Canadian context as well. We saw the emergence of new leadership, for instance, from the Green Party. Anna Paul is the new leader of the Green Party. You see her on the bottom left side. And on the right side, you see some of the activities that the United Nations is involved in, intervening in difficult stress spots around the world. So we're interested in understanding how all of these events are both organized and how they impact our lives and impact the lives of people around the world. So the program itself is built on a foundation of social sciences and humanities common platform. And that platform provides access to instruction in criminology, economics, environment and urban sustainability, geographic analysis, political science, rather political politics and governance, psychology, and sociology. That is just the start of the program. The program also provides an opportunity for you to pick up some skills in what we refer to as professional related electives, as well as liberal studies. So how, I'm trying to align with the slides. So give me a moment so that we can just move the slides up a little bit. Okay, next slide. Okay, one after that. One more. So I spoke to okay, good, this is great. Okay, thank you, we're caught up. So bear with us. So it's a program, it's a 4-year program, but in the first year, you are expected in the first semester to take POG 100, which is People, Power, and Politics. It's a foundational course for the program, as well as SSH 205, which is academic writing and research. And also take 3 other courses, one in the humanities, one social science course, and one that would be outside of the Faculty of Arts or Arts elective. In the second term, you are expected to take POG 110, which is Canadian politics, SSH 105, critical thinking, and then another humanities course, social science course, and social and another course outside from outside of the Faculty of Arts. The idea being to give you a firm grounding in the social sciences before you make a decision as to where you're going to specialize. Next. So there are a number of other courses that you will be expected to take. And again, all of these courses essentially provide you that broad grounding in the social sciences, and in particular in the, the field of politics and governance. Okay, so this comprehensive approach then leads you to taking courses in Canadian government, comparative politics, global government, Western political thought, research skills. That's a very important component of the program. Those are both qualitative and quantitative research skills. Social identity and citizenship, as well as an opportunity to learn more about the nonprofit sector, what is often referred to as the third sector, and a course on controversial policy topics, which is an open course that allows you to explore a number of policy topics. So the first 2 years essentially provide you with the basis that gives you a broad range of understanding of the field, as well as the social sciences and humanities platform. And then in the 3rd and 4th year, you are expected to specialize. And you can specialize as well as broaden your knowledge in the 5 areas, in any of the 6 areas, in fact, not this 5, 6 areas that I talked about earlier on. That would include Canadian government, comparative politics, global governance, policy, Western political thought, right? And then you can also have the opportunity of taking both a major and a minor. Once you decide on what your major is, you have the opportunity of taking a minor. And it does not add to the number of courses that you have to take. It just simply provides an opportunity for you to have a greater specialization in another area of political science, which, by the way, will be noted on your transcript. It doesn't require you to take more courses, it will just simply be acknowledged on your transcript. You also have the opportunity to engage in a variety of activities that are associated with or related to politics and governance. For instance, a placement in a member of parliament or member of provincial parliament's office, the possibility of a week-long course that is held in Washington, D.C. in the United States, and a variety of opportunities for community engagement as a way of learning more about how people both govern themselves and are governed. There's also the opportunity for an international exchange program. Unfortunately, we did not have one this year because of the COVID situation, but there are opportunities, previous students and we assume future students have an opportunity to go to either France or Germany or Sweden, Singapore, Australia, Turkey, Brazil, Scotland, to spend time there as students. And we usually have exchange students coming our way. And there's also opportunities for volunteer work that again strengthen your understanding of how the theory you learn in school applies in the field. There are a number of student organizations, and I'm sure that both our students will speak to the ones that they're involved in, the number of student organizations that are on campus, and they give you an opportunity to learn, to better understand how both Ryerson works and how students organize. And they organize a variety of activities, including student-led trips, as well as work in the community. And so those are other opportunities to broaden your learning in the Ryerson University. So let's keep going. So who are your professors? So on the screen, you have a cross-section of some of the people who have taught and are teaching courses in the Politics and Governance program. There's Pam Palmatier, who is an Indigenous scholar. There is on the top right. There's Sadeh Farhat Koch, who is a scholar of world renown. There's Chris Gore, who was the previous chair of the program and is now, I think, on sabbatical, but works on issues like energy in Africa. There is Daniel Rubinstein, who does the qualitative and quantitative research method skills, as well as work on democracy. There's Neil Tomlinson, who works on urban centers. There's Nitu Sengupta, who works on Asia, South Asia in particular, and international relations. There's yours truly, who works on race and ethnicity and international political economy. There's Greg Inwood, whose work is on Canadian. And in the right corner are two people who have since left the department. Unfortunately, one of them is departed, but they were mainstays of the program for a very long time. So let me just say a few things about how we ensure that you're successful in this program. We would suggest that you take seriously the opportunity to attend your classes. Because if you are in class, the learning process works best if you are part of the process of learning in class. I would suggest that if you have an opportunity and you need to visit your professors, we have office hours. You can drop in, usually 2 hours a week. You can drop in and get to know your professors better. the program is not so large that you cannot get to know your professors. Take advantage of that. I would suggest that you spend time with your classmates and your colleagues, make friends and make study friends amongst your colleagues, exchange ideas with them. We also suggest that you participate in extracurricular activities, both on campus and off campus. That really strengthens both the learning, but also the capacity to participate as a citizen in our society. There's a contribution that you can make, and this is one of the ways that you can make that contribution. You can also develop your leadership skills that way. We have a number of resources that are important. The Writing Center is on campus, and would suggest that if you need to, please use it. Research help at the library, the counseling services. Sometimes when students come on campus, they have some challenges because they're away from home for the first time, or because they're in a new environment. And the counseling services are available for you if you need them. And those who have English as a second language, you can also be provided some support on campus. Okay, here's a question that is often asked. What happens after the program? What do I do? What are my prospects? So many of our students choose to continue to graduate school. And if you continue to graduate school at Ryerson University, we have a number of graduate programs that will be of relevance to you. Public policy and administration, professional communications, immigration and settlement studies, international economics and finance, philosophy, psychology, a master's in business administration. All of those are at the master's level. And then we have a PhD in policy studies. A number of our students also go into law. And I cannot tell you how often I have written reference letters for some of our students who go into law, and many of them are very successful. Those who do not go those two ways often go into the public service. They can work in the public service as policy analysts, as speech writers, as legislative assistants, as diplomats, as political aides, and some of them can work in the public sector as either social workers or university staff or professors in some cases, or as teachers. There's also the third sector, what we often refer to as the nonprofit sector. And the nonprofit sector also has a lot of jobs for people who can work as policy analysts. It has both a national, local, national, and international dimensions, right? People who work as advocates, or some work as lobbyists, and others end up working in international roles, whether it's in the United Nations or international organizations, international NGOs. And the private sector probably takes the majority of our students who work because of the foundation, the Liberal Studies Foundation, the Social Studies Foundation. They work either as public relations experts or as consultants. Some go into journalism, some work in marketing or in business. Some will end up as professors, some will end up as judges, so on and so forth. So there's a breadth of opportunities in terms of where this degree will take you with regard to the growth of your career. So we have some examples of some of our students who have successfully transitioned into the workforce. Zanab Chaudhry, who was our a recent graduate, studied law school at the University of Ottawa, but she also spent some time in the summer working with a member of parliament, Mary Ang, after completing a placement that she did with an MPP office at Queen's Park. Sophia Akvan Zanjani, who again also graduated recently, studied a master's in public policy at Monk School, the U of T, this last month. Okay, Eva Sberznova studied a master's program in comparative and international studies in Zurich, Switzerland, just last month. Okay, Zagreb Habibi, one of my students, studied a law program at Western University last year. And there's a number of other really excellent and successful students that we would call on to. So I think I've said a lot. I want to move on. Let me just say that if you want to contact us, one of the ways, given the virtual moment in which we are, the COVID moment in which we are, one of the best ways to contact us would be to use our website, www.ryerson.ca/politics. And if you need to contact me directly as the undergrad program director, again, my name is Grace Edward Galabuzzi, and you can reach me at galabuzzi@ryerson.ca. Or if you need to contact the chair of the department, Tuna Baskoy, you can contact him at tbaskoy@ryerson.ca. Okay. So before I leave, I just want to say that we still have a program that has 4 layers. First year and second year, third year and fourth year, but also has 3rd year and fourth year, but they are broken up into semesters. So first and second year has, we have 4 semesters, third year and fourth year have 4 semesters. There's an opportunity for you to pick up a variety of widening courses in terms of the knowledge base that you go out of here with. There's a variety of liberal studies that I would suggest that you include in your choices of studies. And again, I think I said something about the professional related studies, professional related electives that give you the kind of breadth that you would need so that when you leave, you have a fully rounded education that ensures that you'll be successful. The last thing I want to talk about is we have a core program. The Faculty of Arts has a core program. Now, the core program is a new program, but it's something that we're really excited about that represents a real possibility and opportunity for students. First year students can apply for the core program at the end of their first year. Applications will be due in May 2021. There will be a student information session that will offer more information about this in January of this coming year. So how to apply? Students can apply to the core program via a core portal that will be set up. They'll find out about this when they attend the session in January. The admission criteria is applications include an online form, a resume, statement of intent, and an official transcript. You would be expected to be performing at a minimum level of 2.67 GPA or a B minus. And the core program or the core office will review the applications and determine whether you have been successful or not. And if you are accepted into the program, the acceptance will come to you through email, or it will be posted on the portal, so you can check the portal from time to time and you'll find out whether you are successful. The first 3 terms begin in 2022, in the winter of 2022. So during the core program, students will take during their program, the students will take about a 12-month paid work term that will be divided into 3 4-month semesters, and it will be evaluated on a pass-fail basis. And if you, for whatever reason, are not either meeting success in the program, or you have some challenges, personal challenges, and need to leave the program, you can always acknowledge that you're having some challenges and you can leave the program. Or if you do not maintain your 2.67 GPA, that also is a reason why you must leave the program. Okay, so a couple of other things. The degree length changes if you're in the core program. You're likely to complete your program in 5 years as opposed to 4 years. Now, theoretically, it's possible for you to do it in 4 years if you take courses during the spring and summer. But that might be onerous. Might be onerous. Now, in the exceptional cases, some people are able to take on that workload, so that option still remains. But ideally, we're expecting that you'll do it in about 5 years. Okay. The first semester, or the final semester, must be a study semester. You cannot complete the degree with a co-op placement. The final semester must be the first semester. We're also suggesting that perhaps you not do double majors along with the core program. Double majors exist as an opportunity for people, again, to broaden their their background in terms of political science or politics and governance. But we would suggest that when you're doing the core program, that perhaps you focus on the opportunity that the core program provides you and not do a double major. I would suggest that you possibly might not consider do a minor instead of a major. So I think I'll leave it there, and I will let some of our students in the program, currently in the program, to say a few words and to be available. I and they will be available for any questions and comments that you might have. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And we look forward to you being with us in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all of that really great information. My apologies on not skipping ahead on those first couple slides. So if anyone who's watching missed a couple of things at the very beginning, let us know. I can put those back up for us as well. But as we transition into some live Q&A before we get started with that, I do encourage those of you who are with us, if you have some questions about some of the things that have been mentioned, feel free to put them in the Q&A pod, and I'll start to ask some of those live. As those are being populated into the Q&A box, let's start with our students. So Joselle, maybe I'll have you go first, just because you're first on my screen here. So how about you do a little bit more of a more in-depth introduction to yourself, more than what I have already, and maybe talk a little bit about your experience at Ryerson, maybe your favorite class or something like that, as well as some of the things that you're currently doing as a student.
Thank you, Jessica, and thank you for Grace Edward for inviting us to join and speak today. As Jessica mentioned, my name is Giselle. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm in my 4th year Politics and Governance Studies here at Ryerson. And one thing that I can say about Ryerson is that I really love my program. My program has brought me into so many opportunities that I never thought was possible. In the first year, I did focus on my academics solely because I wanted to get a feeling for what first year will look like in an undergraduate program. And then right after that, from my 2nd year to my 4th year, which is now, I have just been joining and exploring Ryerson and the GTA. I did start with a couple of student groups. So there's a variety of student groups that are available at Ryerson. And I started with the Ryerson Writers Collective for creative writing, and then the Ryerson Law Network for those who are interested in just learning more about law. And then right after that, right after 2nd year, what this program brought me into is actually the Ontario Public Service. I worked there in the summer as a policy and programs assistant, and really got me to know more about the public sector and how it really affects our daily lives. And I really thank the program for this opportunity, and the program and the other student groups I was a part of. And ever since then, I have been joining and applying to different jobs at Ryerson, because they do offer many jobs at Ryerson for students, which gives us the flexibility to focus on our academics as well as the jobs, and they're all paid, thankfully. And then now I'm currently a research assistant with Professor Tracy Rainey for the Women in the House program, because that's one of my interests, women in politics, and hopefully I will be pursuing that in my graduate school studies next year. And currently I'm the president of the Ryerson Liberal Arts Society, and that really gives me the opportunities to get to know staff, faculty, such as Grace Edward, and having these opportunities to join open houses and come and talk to you. Thank you.
Definitely an impressive resume. Thanks so much for joining us. Hannah, feel free to jump in now too.
Hi everyone. So my name is Hannah, and I'm a 3rd year politics and governance student. And like many of you, I know coming into university, it's really scary. I was so nervous. I didn't know anyone. It was a scary time, but one thing I really love about Ryerson is the class size. Honestly, that was a really big thing for me. You know, you can get to know your profs on a personal level. As the years progress, you really get to know the people in your program on a good level as well. I love the profs at Ryerson. You know, a lot of the politics profs are super passionate about what they're teaching. And as Grace Edward was saying before, I'm in my 3rd year right now, and this is kind of the year where you get to kind of explore your interest. So there's so many different politics courses. I'm actually currently in Grace Edward's the politics of race and ethnicity. That's probably my favorite course this semester. It's so interesting, and I love learning about that. As well, I'm also in the Women in the House program, where you get to learn the theoretical and practical understanding of women in politics, and you get the opportunity to shadow an MP. And I am paired up with MP Pam Damoff for Oakville, North Burlington. So that's really exciting. And one advice I would give is definitely get involved in university and extracurricular activities. Same as Joselle, my first year, I just focused on my studies and kind of saw like what the workload was going to be like. And then when second year came around, I got involved in the Ryerson Liberal Arts Society as an event coordinator, and I got to see the amazing events that they put on. And, you know, this was a place where I really found some really amazing people and found a really amazing sense of community. And I also am involved in Best Buddies at Ryerson. I'm on the exec team there. I'm also involved in Regenesis Ryerson. So yeah, I would definitely recommend you know, getting involved. There's also the Try Mentoring program, which I'm a mentor for. And I think that's something that all first years should look into. So it's kind of a chance for you to get paired up with a mentor. So someone in the upper year in the POG program, and, you know, they can kind of help you navigate your first year of university and answer any questions you may have. So yeah, I love Ryerson. I love the POG program, and honestly, like I wouldn't choose to go anywhere else. So yeah, thanks.
Thanks so much. You girls definitely do it all. So keep up the great work with everything you're doing, and I'm sure you're inspiring a lot of students who've joined us today. So we have a few questions. Because I have the students here available right away, I'm going to ask a couple of them as follow-up questions to your introduction. So Joselle, there was a question on what graduate studies are you looking into?
Yes, thank you for that question. I'm looking into applying to 3 different programs. So one is Master of Political Science at Carleton University and University of Toronto. And then the other one is the Ryerson Immigration and Settlement Studies program that they offer here for 1 year. And then the other program that I would like to get into would be the Women and Gender Studies at Carleton University. And this is kind of like just a bridge for me before going into law school potentially.
Awesome. There was another question about course load. So what's it like to handle all your courses? I know think about the time when you were transitioning from high school to university, kind of touch on a little bit about how you handled that transition. And I think that both of you could definitely answer this question as well if you're up for it, but then also thinking about some of the things that you've been involved in. How have you been able to manage potentially working, being a part of clubs, and handling your course load at the same time?
Go ahead, Joselle.
Yes, so in the beginning, course load is quite heavy just because we're trying to get into the flow of everything. And I did take five courses per semester until 3rd year, and it is a lot. And then getting into the 2nd year and trying to balance 2 part-time jobs and getting involved on campus is definitely a lot. Especially in the liberal arts degree, the most important thing is a lot of readings. We typically have 10 to 20 pages of reading, that is per course at least. And then adding that up together, and then it will really depend on you and how many courses that you take. What I would definitely suggest is taking 3 to 5 courses per semester and not adding too much on top of that, especially if you would like to get involved on campus and take the different opportunities that are available to you, especially when you do get into Toronto in the future. But it's definitely manageable as long as you learn how to time manage, and there are so many supports that are available for you to learn more about time management and balancing your courses.
Yeah, just to go off that, I think another important thing for me was kind of, you know, having a calendar, writing your stuff down, making sure you know kind of when things are going to be. But yeah, coming from high school to university was definitely a challenge. But, you know, as you kind of first year, you're just kind of navigating, seeing how things are going. But as the years goes on, you kind of just learn like how to manage it. You know, kind of what the course load is going to be like. And yeah, so just staying as organized as you can and kind of only taking on as much as you can handle. You know, it's not the end of the world if you take 4 courses instead of 5 courses. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Absolutely. A great point. A little background about myself as well. I was a student of Ryerson. I graduated from the Arts and Contemporary Studies program, so in the Faculty of Arts, but I was also a varsity women's hockey player. So I had a very busy schedule, and I did actually only take 4 courses instead of 5, and would sometimes take a class over spring and summer if that was possible as well too, to make sure that I was staying ahead of my on top of my curriculum as well. So those are always options for you too. So we did have a question that I think this may be more catered toward our professor, as well as students feel free to join in as well too. But what is the difference between this course and political science? Because that's a very common question that we get typically. And Grace Edward, you are muted right now, if you could unmute.
Thank you. I tried to answer that question in the chat box. So this program covers the same number of subfields as the political science programs do. The only difference is that we do both theory and we have a practical orientation. Okay, we have a practical and experiential orientation in this program, so that we go beyond political science in that context. We go beyond looking at government and thinking about other forms of governance. In community, for instance, that's why we do the third sector or the social sector, right? Internationally and otherwise. So the orientation is a practical orientation, but we also do the theory in the same way that political science programs do. I would say it's political science plus.
Awesome, that's a great answer. So I'll have to remember to say that for the next student. It's political science plus extra, for sure. That's awesome. We've had a few questions about class size. I know, I think Hannah, at one point you mentioned the size of classes being smaller or just kind of more tight knit. And I know part of the presentation had mentioned get to know your professors. So can we touch a little bit about class sizes in this program and kind of what to expect, whether it be in first year or second or third year or fourth year?
Hannah, you want to take that?
Yeah, I can take that. Yeah, so I would say I remember my POG 100 class. It was definitely like, I would say under 50 people in the class, or maybe like 50 to 60. But yeah, it was a lot smaller. Like, you know, some universities have hundreds of students in their intro courses. Like it could literally be like 300 or 400, but like that's what I liked about this. It was so much more personal. I didn't like feel afraid to go to the prof. You're close to the front of the class, or you can sit behind, whatever. But there's also tutorials within those courses, so it's even smaller. You know what I mean? And you get that extra connection with your classmates and with your teacher's assistant, which is nice.
So Hannah, let me just add that I taught at at York University before I came to Ryerson University. The largest class I taught at York University was 250 students. The largest class I have ever taught at Ryerson University was 130 students. And the averages generally are lower than that. And those are sort of the introductory classes, the foundational classes. And when you move to second year, third year, fourth year, the classes are even smaller. And yes, there's also the option of, for those larger classes, to be broken up into the tutorials that are about 25 students that allow you a lot more focus with the tutorial assistant who works closely with the professor.
Awesome, thanks so much for that. I know we had mentioned a few or back in the presentation as well, but do professors offer help outside of class time and lectures, specifically at times during the week? So if you could touch on a little bit about office hours.
So most professors will provide at least 2 hours a week for students to come and meet with them. Naturally, that would be at their office. That's changed this year because of the challenge of COVID. And so we've been providing an hour here, an hour there. But the idea is that we recognize that part of the experience of learning and education involves that close connection with the professor, so that you can ask questions for clarification, as well as just simply explore your ideas and be mentored by the professor. if you're interested in a subject matter that that professor might be researching, for instance, that's an opportunity for you to explore that with them, and maybe the possibility that at some point maybe you can work as their research assistant.
Awesome, thanks so much. There is a question specifically to Joselle. It says, you mentioned bridging into law school and getting a master's to do so. Did you decide to do this because of required average, preference? Is this a common pathway? So Joselle, first up, feel free to answer, but then if anyone else wants to chime in about if this is kind of a pathway and why it is a pathway to law school, if you wanted to chime in, feel free.
Yes, thank you, Jessica, and thank you for that question. The reason why I am interested in taking a master's program is because this program actually taught me to love academia. And this is normally not what I was going to do, especially when I came into first year. I was really adamant on going into law school and becoming a lawyer. But through the courses that I have taken, I have really taken a large interest in learning more about politics, especially the role of women in politics. Therefore, I was interested in taking a master's program to really explore that interest, and maybe in the future, if I would like, get a PhD. But from what I know, this is kind of like a common pathway to either take a break between undergraduate and law school to explore the world of work, or get a master's degree and just try to figure out what your interests are. And this is a commonly advice for anyone who wants to go into law school, is to just explore what the world is like and get more experiences and see if you are really interested in getting into law school. Law school is definitely a lot, and I'm trying to prepare myself more. And I believe by taking a master's degree, it will help me excel more in law school.
Awesome. And yeah,
so
fun.
Did you want me to add? Let me just add that a lot of our students actually explore that opportunity to go to law school, and some of them go right away. Others wait for a period of time, doing some other activities, whether it's community or work. But I think, like Giselle said, that's a very real possibility for those of you who might be interested in exploring that.
Absolutely. And even when it comes to law school, you can apply with any undergraduate degree. So you don't have to look at specifically things in law in your undergrad. You can do things that you're passionate about in transition, whether it be right out of university or right out of your undergrad, or another time as well. And we actually do have a brand new faculty of law here at Ryerson. So for those of you who are thinking about law school, feel free to check that out on our website. And we also have a recorded version from our virtual open house available on our website. So definitely keep that in mind for sure. Next up, I know we had spoken a little bit about adjusting our course loads. So whether it be taking four courses or even 3 courses, does this change your road to graduation? Does it extend your degree? Can you still kind of adjust it? I know I talked a little bit about it, but someone else feel free to jump in if you'd like as well.
Yes, so for me in third year, I have decided to take a lighter load course load, just because I wanted to have more free time to explore my interest in volunteering and making sure that I also excel at my job. And technically, it does slow down the process, because you do have to make up for those courses if you would like to graduate by your 4th year. So I made sure to take all of these courses that I was going to take in third year in the summer. And those summer courses gave me the room to still graduate by spring 2021. And now I'm just I'm making sure that I make up for all of those courses, because I still want to graduate in 4 years. However, if you do feel like you don't want to graduate in 4 years, or if you don't have the capacity to do so, that is definitely okay. There are many students, and many of my friends are taking a 5th year or even a 6th year, just because they want to take their time with university and just really explore in their interests.
Let me just add that, yes, Giselle is right. We have spring and summer courses that provide an option for those of you who want to take fewer courses during the year, right? 4 instead of 5, or maybe as well as 3. And often why students do that is because they want to either do what Giselle is doing in terms of other extracurricular activities, or to excel in the courses that they're taking, so that they're taking a course load that is commensurate to their capacity and abilities, right? We would encourage you to even consider doing an extra year if need be. The important thing is that you need to focus on what it is that is going to help you to be successful, right? And so this flexibility that will allow for you to be successful, and that is a really important consideration in the program. So someone was asking how long are the summer courses? They're kind of intensive. They're like 6-week courses, as opposed to the 13 to 14-week courses that you would take in the in the fall or in the winter.
Yeah, we also offer, we have something on our campus called the Chang School, which is our continuing education program. That's where a lot of our students will take liberal studies over the summer, sometimes as well too, spring, summer. I know we have some people in the back end here who can probably pass along a link for our Chang School courses as well. And those are also offered online sometimes too. Mm-hmm. So that's something you can consider if maybe you don't live in the city and you're, commuting to and from, maybe you don't want to have to come down to campus during the summer. Those are some options as well too. And you'll also have an academic advisor who's kind of like a guidance counselor for you during your undergraduate degree. You can sit down with them and talk to them about your pathways, what you want to do. We also have someone named Sunny Wong who works in our Faculty of Arts who assists with careers, and he's an amazing person to kind of talk to about all of this stuff as well. So there's so many supports on campus that I love to chat about for sure. So we've had a few questions, or actually, Hannah and Joselle, you've mentioned a few times about women in politics. I know you're a part of a program that both of you have mentioned it. Can we go into a little bit more detail about women in politics and what you two are a part of?
Yes, so we have a couple or a few courses in women in politics in the politics and governance department, and it really just explores the different ways and the different intersections that goes along gender. More specifically, it seems like I have taken all of the women courses. So there's Women in the House program, where it allows you to actually have an extracurricular component to the course where you are paired up with a woman identified member of parliament, and then you get to shadow them, whether that's in person in Ottawa for 3 days or virtually, like what's happening right now with Hannah. And it really just lets you explore the different leadership positions in parliament and just a government role in general. And we are interested in learning more about the representation of women in politics. And then there's 2 other courses, which are Women in Comparative Politics, and learning more about how women are intersected in the way formal politics are, so such as public office and electoral offices. And the other one is Women in Conflict, and that allows us to learn more about how women are intersected with human security, peace, and conflict around the world. And the reason why I'm interested in women in politics is because the professors that are teaching these courses are very much knowledgeable on these topics, and it has really inspired me to explore this pathway more.
Yeah, so in the Women in the House program, the professors are Tracy Rainey. She's amazing. She's so passionate about women in politics, and she's a great professor. And then the other teacher is former MP Peggy Nash. So that's like a really, really unique experience to have her as a professor at Ryerson for your course. And through the course, we've had many roundtables and discussions with women in leadership positions, and it's been really amazing to kind of hear their personal stories. Like, it's not always talking about professional work life. It's talking about like personal experiences and kind of learning what their journey has been like, and that's really inspiring. And you can really relate as a woman. And as Joselle was saying, I'm really hoping to take. This is my first kind of women-focused course in politics, so I'm really hoping to take those other courses either next semester or next year. So yeah.
Awesome, thanks so much. We did have someone ask to review some of the slides that were at the very beginning, so that's why you saw me kind of playing around with our screen right now. Feel free to keep adding some questions into the Q&A box if you have any about at the beginning of this session. We do have a really great question here. If someone maybe doesn't know a lot about politics right now, should they be taking this course? They're interested in politics, but don't know a lot. So could you talk a little bit about the background knowledge that students are technically looking or should have before going into this, if at all?
So there's no requirement to know a certain level, to have a certain level of knowledge to go into the program, right? We have had students who come from the sciences come into the program. We have students who come from specific in arts come into the program, right? Part of what the program provides is this entry-level exposure to the social sciences and humanities platform, right? So that you can come in from a point of comfort. And if your decision is to stay with the politics and governance program, then you are introduced to all the subfields in the program, right? You're introduced to Canadian politics, you're introduced to comparative politics, you're introduced to global politics, you're introduced to policy, you're introduced to theory, and that gives you a sort of broad grounding in the field, right? So if you come in with some gaps, let's say, in your knowledge of politics, this is precisely the place that you ought to be, because then those gaps will be filled, and then you will decide what area you want to deepen your understanding in, and then you can probably specialize in that area.
Awesome. Thank you so much. On the theme of kind of just understanding the curriculum and what you can do with this curriculum, are there examples of students who haven't gone to graduate studies? Like what can someone pursue right out of their undergraduate degree with this program?
In terms of career?
Sure, yeah, in terms of career, I think would be a good answer.
So I think, like I said earlier on, there's a whole variety of opportunities in the public service, Ontario, municipal, as well as federal public service. And I actually would add the international organizations like the United Nations and other international NGOs, right? All of those are available to you with if you're coming out of this program. There's also possibilities in terms of the social sector, the third sector, right? For instance, Canada has one of the most well-developed immigration and settlement sectors, right? It is world-renowned. There's a lot of people who work in that sector. The people who work in the social services. A lot of our graduates work in the social services. And a lot of our graduates also go into the private sector, okay? Because of the set of skills that you come with from this program, the critical analytical skills in particular and communication skills, you are very competitive in the private sector, whether it is marketing or sales, or think about any area in the private sector, whether it's business, you are very competitive in that sector as well.
That's great, thank you. We did have a question from a student about hearing about the course that was offered or the program that's offered in Washington. Could you touch on that again and speak a little bit to that?
Mm-hmm. So I was actually responding to that in the chat box. Okay, so here's the thing. Every year, we have a group of our students go to the United States and go to Washington, D.C. to both do some learning on the United States political scene, but also some shadowing of some Congress people there. It's an opportunity that some students are really interested in, and so that's how we sustain it. They go for about a week or 2 weeks, right? And spend that time getting to better understand how the American government works and getting to make some connections with some of the Congress people there, as well as their staff, right? It's a fairly popular option, and it constitutes one course.
Great, thanks so much.
It's a one course grade, yeah.
Awesome. Is there a lot of public speaking in this program?
Giselle, Hannah?
I would say I would say no, besides like there's not a lot. Like you may be asked, you know, you have a group presentation or you have a like solo presentation, but it's really, I wouldn't say it's more than any other programs. I wouldn't say, like, I think first year I had to do one, and it was a group presentation. It also depends, like if you're taking different courses, like just say maybe like in business or something else, you may be asked to speak more, but I would say for this program, it's not a lot of public speaking.
So can we differ a bit on this one? So I'm interested actually to hear your perspective on this, because I am one of those professors who gets students to do presentations, and some people really like it, and other people not so much. But it's an opportunity for you to develop your presentation skills. I also like to do debates in class, Hannah. And the idea behind doing the debates is that you have students then presenting different positions of a topic or a motion, right? And sometimes I have them switch over so that they can do that. So there is some opportunity to learn how to present, but clearly from the business point of view, it's not as much as we could be doing. So we can do more.
And I also just want to add that I was so scared of public speaking. I don't participate in classes a lot because I was that shy type of person that would just sit at the back of the class. But throughout my years here, I have learned to really just push myself out of the comfort zone and debate on these topics. I remember last year, Grace Edward, I was in his race and ethnicity class, and each week there is going to be a debate topic and students are expected to talk about it. And it allows us to learn more about public speaking and how to really critically think of an argument from both sides of the perspectives. So I think it's a really great opportunity for you to actually partake in these class participations, especially when you are in your tutorials. These are one of the times that you can speak and interact with all of your classmates. So I would suggest, yes, there is some sort of public speaking aspect, and I suggest that you take these and explore.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry, I was thinking of it more of like a larger group, but I guess just because like it feels so personal, it doesn't feel like you're public speaking almost, I guess. But yeah, I think in POG, like you do have some debates in class, and you know, it is a great chance. I feel like coming from my journey, starting in first year to talking in class now, I feel a lot more comfortable because I've had some opportunities to speak.
Absolutely. Yeah, public speaking can be interpreted in different ways for sure, but that is good that there's definitely a good mix of things within your classes to open up that ability to have conversations with your students and have debates in class, which is great. Being mindful of time, we have 2 minutes left. I'm going to finish off with one final question. We will remain online until all questions are answered. We will answer the majority of them behind the scenes once we do this last one here. But the last question that I had flagged for live is, do courses go over present political topics as well as past ones? Or is it more of just a lot of the past? And seeing the screen that I'm on right now of thinking about critically about the world, I'd like all three of you, if possible, to chime in here and talk a little bit about how Ryerson looks at the way that we teach politics and governance. Sorry.
So you go first.
So I'll go first. So yes, we do explore both past and present political topics. What we generally do, at least in the classes that I have taken, is that we look at the theory and see how that theory has developed over time and how it really can be applied in the past tense and in the present tense. And many of the courses that I'm taking now, we are actually talking about the United States elections. And we are applying the theories that we are learning from these classes and applying them to how the US elections has played out in the past few weeks. And many of the professors that we have in the politics department likes to talk about the present time and really apply the theories that we have. And it really creates a really great discussion between the students and the professors, just talking about how a certain political theory applies to the present tense and the current political sphere that we have now.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that, Joselle. Yeah, you definitely get to learn about the history and kind of how that applied today, but you also get to learn about a lot about current political topics. But I think it is important to look at kind of our history and how that works out to today and how that translates into kind of what's going on today. Yeah.
So yes, both Giselle and Hannah are right. We teach politics from a historical point of view. We want people to understand that these phenomena are historical. They don't just happen. We need to understand where they came from. We also need to understand what the various dimensions of this phenomena might be. And some of those might be geographic, others might be ethnic, or they might be gendered, right? And I think above all, we do theory, but we seek to apply that theory. We do theory, but seek to apply that theory in the everyday lives of people at every level of governance, whether that is community or municipal or provincial or national or international.
Thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation. So thank you again to everyone who joined us on the back end, as well as our presenters. Thank you so much for being here, taking time out of your day and speaking to some students and prospective students, parents, guidance counselors. This has been fantastic. So what's going to happen right now is we are a minute past the hour. So thank you for those of you who stayed behind. We will be shutting down our video and our cameras. We will remain online until we get the final couple questions answered. And then once those are answered, we'll shut things down. But we do encourage you to take a look at our website in the coming weeks to look at some of the recorded sessions, do some more research, reach out to us if you have any questions. We're here to answer those for you. So on behalf of Ryerson University, we hope that everyone is staying safe and healthy during this time. And we hope that we see you again virtually and in person at some point. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks again.